All right, welcome to another Secure World Spotlight series. Today I have the distinct pleasure of introducing y'all to Brittany George. And Brittany is a partner in IT advisory services and technology industry leader at Weaver, and also a member of our SecureWorld Dallas Advisory Council. So Brittany, thank you so much for being a part of the SecureWorld community. Why don't you tell us all those words I just said? What does that mean? What do you do?
Thanks for having me, Brad and team. So at Weaver, I am one of the partners in our IT advisory services, where we provide SOC reporting, SOX, PCI, which is what I'll be speaking on specifically during SecureWorld Dallas, as well as other IT internal audits. We also do consulting, anything in the realm of IT.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about how you arrived into the cybersecurity industry. I know you're an OU grad, correct?
Boomer.
Okay,
Boomer Sooner, yeah.
Sooner. There you go. Got to get that in. But why don't you tell us a little bit about your path?
Sure, yeah. So it's not what I always wanted to do, but when I got into high school, MIS was really starting to take off at that time. And one of my computer teachers, you know, those big machines we used to have with the, the bricks, she told me that I was really good in her class, and her son was majoring in something new called MIS. And she said, you should really look into that. So I did. And this was in 1996. So, you know, there was still a lot of stuff going on in the industry, but it was really picking up in universities. And so I ended up choosing OU. I was a traitor to my state of Texas, the great state, and went up to OU and ended up majoring in MIS from the get-go and just really enjoyed it.
You know, you left out one little detail that I recently found out about you, and that is that you, I'm going to guess, is a fluent Spanish speaker, and you have a unique talent that maybe some other presenters in the secure world realm don't have. So talk a little bit about that. I find that very interesting.
Yeah, so I minored in Spanish. Me encanta la lengua. The first language I learned was French when I was in elementary school, and switched over to Spanish when I was in middle school, took it all throughout high school, and then of course I continued on through college and studied abroad in Spain. I have two little girls, and they both started Spanish school when they were 18 months old. And so we speak Spanish in our home every day, a little bit here and there. And so I have been able to use my Spanish at work, which has been really cool for me because, like I said, I love the language. I have been able to do a cybersecurity presentation for a conference in Latin America in Spanish. And so I was able to learn a lot of new words. I don't get to talk cybersecurity in Spanish very often. And so it was actually one of the coolest things I've done. I got to do that presentation twice, once for a Latin American conference and once for an Ecuadorian conference.
All right.
So it was one of the highlights of my professional career, was getting to use both of the things that I studied in school.
That's great. I can imagine the direct translation in our industry is probably hard to figure out. So good on you for being able to translate words and ideas over and communicate in that way. That's fantastic.
It was cool. And everybody in cybersecurity probably already knows some words in Spanish because they're the same. They just are spoken differently. So
differently,
if you know firewall, you can also say firewall.
Firewall. All right, good to know. Good to know. So I speak a little Spanish now.
There you go. You learned something new.
Hey, you touched on it a little bit earlier about you co-presenting a session on Thursday, October 3rd at SecureWorld Dallas on PCI compliance. So tell the audience a little bit about what their takeaways will be if they attend that session.
Yeah, sure. So a couple of years ago, the PCI Council put out a new version for PCI, which was PCI DSS version 4.0. Just recently, they have put out another new version, which is PCI 4.0.1. And so in this session, we're going to talk about obviously cardholder data and protecting that data. We'll also cover the updates that have happened from version 4.0 to version 4.01. And then some common high risk requirements that we really want to hone in on. There's some frequency-based requirements that have come into play that we really want to make sure everybody understands what are the correct frequencies for these specific requirements. And there are some future dated requirements that don't go into effect until 2025, but now is the time to start planning for those.
Well, I was going to say 2025 is, Christmas decorations are up. So
we're around the corner.
Around the corner, we're close. So I think it's perfect timing.
Close.
Yeah, no. So I appreciate you sharing your knowledge on that. And you're actually going to be doing double duty with us at SecureWorld. Later on in the day, you'll be moderating a panel on threat intelligence. So why don't you tease that session out a little bit for us as well?
Yeah, we're really trying to weave through the security considerations with threat intelligence, with cloud, with AI, and a couple of the topics we're going to be touching are ransomware as it relates to those things, where we're at in the current environment with the threat landscape, and then also supply chain vulnerabilities are going to be a huge part of that conversation. We also want to give some hands-on case studies, examples of how these things are playing out in the real world. So not just talking about these themes and more at an academic level, but really talking through some case studies. We also want to touch on OT security. And as it relates to AI, we want to try and get the conversation rolling around the role of AI in attacks. And then some other considerations around AI we talked about in our planning session, security in AI, privacy in AI, and some compliance considerations as well.
All right. Well, Brittany, thank you so much for your valuable time. We'll see you Thursday, October 3rd.
Okay, thank you. See you then.